Did you know ancient Chinese were super serious about adopting a cat? They'd check a traditional calendar to find their lucky day, and bring gifts like dried fish or salt to the cat's mom, not to honor. And that's not all. You had to write an official letter, like a marriage contract, listing the cat's personality, adoption date, and a promise to treat it well. Break the promise, you could even get punished in public. In the Ming Dynasty, someone was executed for abusing a cat. Even the emperor was a cat lover. Disrespecting the cat meant disrespecting the emperor. And guess what cats they loved most? The mighty orange cats, of course. Subscribe! Did you know who was the biggest cat slave in Chinese history? It was the Ming Dynasty Emperor Jiajing. How much did he love cats? He literally built a palace just for them, with full-time staff to take care of the cats. 12 cats ate over 4 pounds of pork, a whole pig liver, plus dried fish, and all kinds of snacks every single day. The cats even had official titles, like little lords and ladies of the palace. His favorite cat was named Shuangmei. Whenever Shuangmei walked to a certain concubine's door, the emperor would sleep with that concubine that night. Even the concubines got jealous of the cat. And when Shuangmei died, he built a gold coffin, had a royal funeral, and even asked his ministers to write a eulogy.
If I'm not the #1 cat dad in history, who is?
What happens if a concubine gets her period and the emperor wants to sleep with her? Don't worry, the eunuchs would notice the issue early and cleverly guide the emperor to choose another concubine. But what if the emperor suddenly gets interested and happens to pick a concubine who's not feeling well? There's an emergency plan for that too. They'd have one of the palace maids step in as a replacement. Once Emperor Jing of Han went to visit a concubine, but because she was on her period, he ended up spending time with her maid instead. As a result, the maid got pregnant and later gave birth to Emperor Liu Xiu. Of course, this kind of thing was very real. Did you know how emperors choose who to sleep with? Step 1. Flip the name tags. A eunuch brings a tray of wooden tags, each one with a concubine's name. The emperor flips one. Whoever he picks gets ready to go. Step 2. Get carried to the emperor's room. The concubine doesn't walk there herself. She's carried by eunuchs. Step 3. Security check. Before she can enter, she has to take off her clothes and go through a full body check. Step 4. Time limit. A stick of incense is lit to measure time, about an hour. Once it's done burning, the eunuch will give the emperor a gentle reminder. But if it's Empress, that's different. She gets to stay the whole night because she was well educated and knew how to take care of the emperor. Subscribe! Did you know this is the only Chinese dish named after a government official? Kunpao chicken. Over 200 years ago, there was a man named Ding Baozhen. He wasn't just a government official. He was also a serious foodie. He chopped the chicken into little cubes, stir-fried it with peanuts and dried chilies. The flavor sweet and sour, with a little spicy kick and tons of aroma. By the end of the Qing dynasty, it became super popular. Some even called it China's national dish. Later, it spread all over the world. But if you've eaten it outside of China, chances are it's a Western-style version, sweeter and not that spicy. Did you know what the Emperor Wu of Han's favorite dish was? The answer is steamed jiaqi fish. It's a golden red fish from Yantai, Shandong. When Emperor Wu first toured Donglai County, he stood at the front of his ship. Suddenly, a big golden red fish jumped onto the ship. A smart minister said,
This is jiaji fish. It symbolizes abundance and good luck.
So Emperor ordered the fish to be cooked. After tasting it, he couldn't stop eating. From then on, every time he visited Donglai and ordered this fish. That's how jiaji fish became a star dish in Shandong cuisine. I'd love to try it too. Subscribe! Did you know there's a dish in China where the knife skills alone will leave you speechless? It's called crispy stir-fried pork and chicken. 油爆双脆. This dish comes from Shandong over 200 years ago during the Qing dynasty. Back then, chefs created this complex recipe to impress rich and powerful officials. The ingredients: thin pork stomach and chicken gizzards. They need to be cleaned, peeled, and sliced so thin they are as thin as paper. The cooking time is critical. 1 second too long and it's too soft. 1 second too short and it's not crispy enough. By the late Qing dynasty, this dish was famous all over China. Today, it's considered considered one of the hardest dishes to make in Chinese cuisine. Want to challenge yourself with the top level of Chinese cooking? You'd better practice your knife skills for 10 years before you try it. Yang Guifei, the most famous royal consort of the Tang Dynasty, loved eating lychees. But back in ancient China, how did the lychees even get to her? The Emperor Tang Xuanzong actually built a special lychee highway just for her. Riders would race day and night, covering 1,000 kilometers in just 5 days. But here's the problem. One wrong move, and the lychees would turn into lychee juice. So the smart people back then invented 2 ways to keep them fresh. Sealing lychees inside bamboo tubes or packing them with ice. This was basically the first version of cold chain delivery. But not everyone used the postal system just to satisfy cravings. During the 5th century, a poet named Lu Kai once sent a plum blossom to a friend far away just to say he missed him. So in ancient China, delivery wasn't just about speed. It was also about heart. In Chinese historical dramas, Asian people always seem to pull all kinds of things out of their sleeves. How come stuff doesn't just fall out of such big sleeves? Asian Chinese sleeves were like secret pockets. It looks white, but most of it is sewn shut, leaving just a small hole for your hand to go through. So what did they keep inside their sleeves? Rich people might keep things like a scented pouch, a small mirror, or a handkerchief. Poor people could store food or toys. They really had everything in there. It's basically Doraemon's magic pocket. Did you know how many days off ancient Chinese had in a year? Back in the Han Dynasty, government officials worked 5 days, then got 1 day off just to go home and wash their hair. And they also got holidays for festivals, like Chinese New Year, Winter Solstice. That's about 16 days off a year. Then comes the Tang Dynasty, and holidays got even better. They worked 10 days and got 1 day off. Officials had around 100 days off a year. But in the Ming Dynasty, Emperor Zhu Yuanzhang was a total workaholic. Holidays never went past 15 days a year. If the emperor worked hard, you had fewer days off. But if he was lazy, lucky you, more holidays. Because in ancient China, you didn't decide your holidays. It all depended on the emperor's moods. Did you know what the most luxurious crown in Chinese history looks like? It's called the 9 Dragons and 9 Phoenix crown, and it's the museum's most treasured item at the National Museum of China. This crown is made with 115 natural rubies, 4,414 pairs, and with over 2,300 grams. It's crafted with lacquered bamboo and silk fabric. In the front, there are 9 golden dragons holding pear drops, and on the sides, delicate golden phoenixes and pear flowers. But the coolest part, the pear drops actually swing like a hairpin when you work. This crown belonged to Empress Xiaoduan Wang Xijie, who ruled for 42 years, the longest reigning empress in Chinese history. This crown is truly a symbol of ancient Chinese luxury. Here's my ID. But how did people in ancient China prove their identity? A guy named Shang Yang invented something called a Zhao Shen Tie. It was a bamboo tablet. Without it, you couldn't even travel. You had to carry it everywhere. By the Sui and Tang dynasties, government officials had a new form of ID, the fish token. But during the Tang dynasty, Empress Wu Zetian changed it into the turtle token. Sounds a bit weird, right? But actually, it connects to a saying we use today. If a family gets a rich and powerful son-in-law, we say they've caught a golden turtle son-in-law. By the Ming dynasty, officials' IDs become something called a waist tag, 腰牌, even recorded a person's facial features. It was kind of like today's ID card. In Chinese history, there were thousands of empresses, but only one of them was a foreigner. Her name, Empress Qi. She was from Korea, that's modern-day Korea. Back in the Yuan dynasty, because of her beauty, she was sent to China as a palace maid. But she was smart and quick-witted. Soon she caught the emperor's eye and became his favorite. But her rise wasn't easy. The first empress beat her out of jealousy, but she endured it all and eventually became empress. She even gave birth to the emperor's heir and started getting involved in politics. She promoted a fellow Korean, a eunuch named Piao Buhua, and together they controlled the court. Even though she was an empress, many believe she played a big part in the fall of the Yuan dynasty. Subscribe! You've seen people sending messages with pigeons in Chinese dramas, right? But is that real? Well, it did exist, but the success rate super low. The pigeon could only fly back to its home. No GPS, no new address delivery, and sometimes the poor things get caught on the way and ends up at someone's dinner. Yeah, it literally died on duty. So what did the people do? They sent a bunch of pigeons with the same message. Whoever made it home first, mission accomplished. Because communication was so hard, letters meant everything. A couple might write each other, and by the time the letter arrived, 6 months could have passed. Like we say in China, a short letter carries deep feelings. Now, one phone, one swipe. That's love. There's a dish in China that 300 years ago, the Emperor Qianlong of the Qing dynasty, he loved it so much. It became a royal delicacy. It's called Dezhou boiled chicken, and with just a little shake, the meat comes right off the bone. But did you know it actually came about by accident? Around the 1690s, a chicken shop owner went out, and his helper accidentally overcooked the chicken. Surprisingly, the chicken became super tender, and customers started saying, "This is amazing." That's how the first version of boiled chicken was born. Today, Dezhou boiled chicken is fried golden, then slow cooked to perfection. It's even being recognized as a Chinese intangible cultural heritage. It's just as famous as Beijing duck.
Subscribe.